Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome to Eddie's Encyclopedia of Musicals. I am Eddie, and today I will be talking about Wicked and its recent film adaptation. There are some spoilers ahead for the stage show, but I don't think I've spoiled anything for the movie in this review. I saw the stage musical in London for the first time in 2019. That was my first exposure to the show. All I'd heard about it before was that it was a prequel to my beloved Wizard of Oz, and that it was very, popular. I hated the stage show. I felt the politics were too shallow, I was annoyed at Glinda's ditziness, the fan service to the Wizard of Oz felt too heavy-handed, and I loathed that Elphaba doesn't really die at the end, unlike in the original Wizard of Oz. Now, this isn't to say that I didn't appreciate some elements of this musical. The sets and the costume designs were spectacular. The performances were all really good, but the actresses playing the three witches were phenomenal. Really knocked their songs out of the park. I recall especially enjoying parts of or all of The Wizard and I, I'm Not That Girl, Defying Gravity, Thank Goodness, and No Good Deed. The vocals were truly wonderful, even if I didn't like the Oz speak and felt some of the lyrics were awkward or annoying. No Good Deed is a hell of an 11 o'clock number. I had chills when she sang it. It's a killer song, a descent into villainy number that just captivated me. I was so excited when she sang it. I thought, okay, this is it. This is going to save the show. I really wasn't enjoying Act 2. But there's no payout. She declares she's wicked through and through now, but then what? She doesn't really do anything wicked. It's been a long time now since I've seen the show, so forgive me if I'm misremembering. But doesn't she not turn evil? Yeah, she's trying to get the shoes from Dorothy, which she isn't exactly acting like the Wicked Witch of the West in doing so. And then she doesn't die. That really bugged me. I felt that was such a cop-out. I sat there the whole time thinking, this feels like such a bad adaptation. And I knew it was based on a novel by the same name, so I went out and I read the novel. The novel was actually really interesting. I liked it a lot more than the musical. It's a very different story, and I stand by that bad adaptation thought. I like to joke that Wicked the musical is the Disney version of the story, and Wicked the novel is the Game of Thrones version. Anyway, this was all back in 2019. I started getting really into musicals in 2020, like listening to 100 plus musicals a year since then. I started studying musicals. I started writing them. I never revisited Wicked until 2 days ago. Now, I knew Wicked has its moments. My problems weren't the score. When the casting came out, I immediately defended Ariana Grande as Glinda to the naysayers because I knew she had the chops to do the role justice. Between her, Cynthia Erivo, and Jonathan Bailey being cast, and the director from In the Heights at the helm, I was swayed to see the movie adaptation of a musical I had hated for years. I was actually excited to see the movie. How could I not be with that cast? Okay, so I saw the movie 2 days ago, and it's the happiest I have been in a movie theater since what is possibly my favorite movie, West Side Story, came out in 2021. I loved it. The cast was, as predicted, phenomenal. Now, I knew Ariana could sing, but I hadn't actually heard her sing in the more legit style that Glinda does in No One Mourns the Wicked. She sounded amazing. My only issue is that when she sings really high, I couldn't understand her. But her tone quality was there. That was the only song I think I struggled with. And her acting in that song was great too. I loved her hidden sadness as she's surrounded by rejoicing munchkins. It really brought a lot of depth to the character in the early scene. I loved some of the choreography and costumes. I was a bit meh on some of the rest. The other visuals were great. I had not realized how much I needed a big-budget epic fantasy musical in my life. That was really fun. There were still elements of the plot that I didn't care for, but I noticed something. After watching 300 plus musicals since my last trip to Schwartz's Oz, after analyzing and obsessing over structure and lyrics, I find myself wondering how much I just didn't get Wicked. Let's review. I didn't like the Oz speak. Okay, it's annoying, especially because it sometimes feels like it's just there for a rhyme. Well, guess what? The Wizard of Oz, 1939, was written by Yip Harburg, who loved nothing more than to make up ridiculous pronunciations of words to make unexpected rhymes, such as mouse rhyming with prowess, mowus and prowess, in the Cowardly Lions verse in The Emerald City. Stephen Schwartz may have been writing in a kind of annoying fashion, but it's clearly a nod to the very movie I felt he had betrayed. I feel like the popular Lar line is another kind of reference to Harburg's lyricism. I liked the metaphor of animal rights for other types of bigotry that we see in the real world. I didn't feel like the politics were too shallow. Maybe it's because an hour and a half, Act 1, was stretched to 3 hours, and they had time to flesh out the story from the novel. Maybe it's because I'm more used to analyzing how musicals approach their themes now. Maybe it's because, as a writer, I spend more time thinking about how metaphors work. It's probably all of the above. But I didn't feel like the politics were too shallow this time around. Glinda is still ditzy and annoying. I think when I originally saw the stage show, I was thrown off by how shallow she is, expecting more from her. Having read the book and now watched the movie, I recognize now that her character exists to explore the insincerity of performative goodness. Ariana's comic acting really brought that out in the film. You're meant to laugh at Glinda, and I wonder how much I was just expecting her to be more serious in the musical. I have really gotten into analyzing lyrics over the years. Stephen Schwartz does some truly fascinating things in terms of rhyme and other phonological patterns, stuff that I don't see in very much in other lyricists' work. Rhyming across words, especially at the beginning of words. So, for example, in Popular, we get analysis, dialysis, a pal, a sister. But there's a lot of that throughout the show. This is common across Schwartz's musicals. Pippin, Rags, and so forth all have these kinds of rhymes at unusual parts of words. In Pippin, for example, the opening number, you get anecdotic, exotic, spot exciting. As I was listening to these songs from Wicked 2 days ago, I kept having this little jolt of glee that I get whenever I hear a sonically clever lyric. Knowing the queer undertones from the novel, I loved Glinda and Elphaba's chemistry in the movie. I know both are entranced by Fiyero, but their interactions, how they look at each other, and how they touch each other, imply more than platonic feelings. While this is subtextual and will most likely stay that way through the second film, I feel it deepens Glinda's betrayal of Elphaba because their relationship is more intense. Once again, the cast was amazing. Every song was enchanting, and this was the best I've ever heard these songs be sung. Obviously, I haven't heard 20 years of Elphaba's and Glinda's, but I have heard several renditions of the more popular songs. John M. Chu is a wonderful director of movie musicals, and I hope he continues such projects. This movie has me rethinking my hatred for this musical. Granted, I recall hating Act 2's plot, so we'll see how much I'll recant on this next year. But I find myself very tempted to buy tickets to see the Wicked tour to see how wrong I was in my original viewing, or how much the movie fixed the problems I'd had with the stage show. Thanks for listening to Eddie's Encyclopedia of Musicals. Until next time.